All right, Monarchs, welcome to the second video for lesson 3.1. If you have not watched the first video, please go back and do that now. We went over our different rules. We went over what our different signs look like. And then we did examples number 1 and 2. Okay, so we're now going to move on to example 3. We are now graphing inequalities. So we're going to do this quite a bit. So it's important that we understand this, okay? So we are going to graph x is greater than or equal to -5. Okay, so we have x is greater than or equal to -5. I always like to rewrite it, and I'll show you guys why in a second. So the first thing that we want to do is identify what number is present in our equality or in our inequality. Okay, so right now we have a -5. So that means that we have to find -5 on this graph. Now we need to figure out what we need to do at -5. Okay, so we have a couple options. What we're going to do is either a closed or an open dot, and then we need to make an arrow pointing either left or right. Okay, so our big rule is anytime that we have a line underneath our inequality, so anytime we have that equal to sign, our dot is going to be closed. Anytime that we do not have this little line underneath, so if it was just greater than or less than, our dot would be open. Okay, but since this is a greater than or equal to, we are going to put a closed dot above -5. Okay, and that's a closed dot because this is an equal sign. It has this line underneath, which tells me I need a closed dot. Now I need to think about which way should my arrow point. Okay, am I going to draw an arrow pointing this way to the left, or am I going to draw an arrow pointing this way to the right? The easy way to remember it is we just draw an arrow from our inequality. So I'm just going to draw a line like that through my inequality. And look, it looks like my arrow is pointing to the right, right? Because I already have an arrow. My arrow is pointing to the right. So I know that my arrow down here will also point to the right. Okay. So this is the graph for x is greater than or equal to -5. I made an arrow going to the right, and it is a closed dot above -5. Okay. Example 4, we're doing the opposite. We're writing the inequality shown by the graph. Okay, so first we know that we're going to use x, right? So we know that we're going to have x because this is x, right? We know it's above -3, so we know -3 will be my answer. Now I need to figure out what goes here, right? I need to figure out what my sign is. So I want to look at which way the arrow is pointing, okay? I want to look at which way the arrow is pointing first. The arrow is pointing to the right, okay? So whatever way my arrow is pointing is what my inequality will look like. So my inequality should also be pointing that way. Okay, see how this arrow is pointing this way? My inequality should also be pointing that way. And then I need to look to see if I have an open or a closed dot. That is a closed dot. So I know I need to put the greater than or equal to sign underneath it. I need to put that line because this is a closed dot. Okay, so on this line down here, let me move my papers. My inequality is now x is greater than or equal to -3. Okay, if this was an open dot instead, we would not put this line underneath. Okay, but since this is a closed dot, we know it needs to have this line underneath because that means greater than or equal to. Just like up here, we had to do a closed dot because our inequality had a greater than or equal to sign. Okay, so that was the whole lesson. It's a little bit of a short lesson, but I will also include a video that is homework help. So go ahead and watch both of these videos, both the videos for lesson 3.1, and then I will also have a homework help video. So stay tuned.